Hi guys, Artiar here. So for this video, we'll be going through the tier list updated till 3.4.5. And before we start to the tier list video, I'll go through what should you know about this tier list condition first. So our consideration for this tier list, first thing, this is a fully PvE tier list, so I won't be taking any consideration in terms of PvP. The resonance, the highest resonance I will go up to is R2. I won't be considering R6 here because most of you guys might not able to go for R6, right? Or not enough time to go to R6. So the main consideration is just around R0 to R2. I won't be thinking until the R6 part. The R6 one, I'll leave it to the R6 tier list video. That will be another video. Then the main consideration for this PvE content, the first thing will be Falsetto Fantasy, Infinity Tower. These two will be the main consideration. Then the rest of the consideration will be like Calamity Tower, Story Stages, and Ritual Miracle. So these are the sub consideration, but the main consideration will be Infinity Tower. How often are we using them, and the usage of Falsetto Fantasy, because Falsetto Fantasy is the main reward base from our PvE content. Then the rest that is not going to be good within this kind of content, I'll be putting them in bad session. I'll go through one by one of all the esper we have in the esper pool here, and the consideration is up to R2. Okay, so I have meta, strong, decent, niche, and bad. So meta obviously is going to be like the best. It's like can cover almost every content in the game. And then strong here is like they are good, but they have other replacement to actually replace them. It's like they are still very strong, just that we have better esper to replace them. Then for decent is like the normal. Niche is like they are very good in only specific one content. So let's say this esper is only good in Calamity Tower and other places is not going to be good, then I will put it at niche. Then the bad is just being bad performance in PvE content. Right, so after knowing what is this tier list judgment, and now let's go through the tier list. Okay, so first one we'll be going through will be Jinchu. Okay, so Jinchu here, he is mainly used in Andras. He's one of the meta esper for Andras clearing only. Then the rest of the content, maybe you'll be using him in story mode, but other than like Falsetto Fantasy tower content, you won't be really relying on Jinchu that much. So I would say he's just performing decent or either strong. It's between here, but based on what I have on Jinchu and the usage on Jinchu, I would say strong because he can cover most of the content for you, even Ritual Miracle as well. It is coverable, but up to 16 only, but he's still considered strong in PvE. Then for Genie here, I will instantly say she's bad performance in PvE because she is mainly a PvP esper, and in PvE content she can't shine in any kind of content, even including Calamity Tower. So I will just straight up say Genie is gonna be bad in PvE content. Same for Tolan. Tolan is instantly going to be bad. Tolan is a PvP esper, and in PvE there is no place for him to actually shine. Maybe you will say like Tolan can use in all those like speed team comp in the Ritual Miracle, but other than that you are not really able to use that. So I would say Tolan is going to be bad for PvE content. Then Anna, I would say is actually strong. Okay, maybe you get surprised like why Anna is in PvE is strong. Because Anna is actually able to help you cheat code in the Infinity Tower in certain stages. Like you can just put in Anna with some of the useless teammates together. Then Anna might able to help you solo the floor if the Infinity Tower floor buff allows that. Okay, so Anna is able to help you clear Infinity Tower. Anna have her own position in Falsetto Fantasy as well. So she kind of is able to use in Ritual as well, especially the new Ritual 17 to 20. You can also use Anna as a cheat code for, like, she can play as a buffer, she can play as a DPS, she can play as a tank. So I would say she's definitely worth the strong position in PvE content. Then for Unas here, I would say it's gonna be decent because with the R2 effect or R0 is like useless, but R2 effect, because we are considering max to R2 effect, Unas here actually may be useful in like shadow bosses. Like you're gonna need his AP push and the attack up buff from it. It is kind of unique as well, so I would say it's pretty decent in most of the content. He's still one of the best AP pusher in the game, one of the best, but it needs high reso. Then for lane here, I would say she's actually strong because she's able to save a lot of your team in the Ritual Miracle, Infinity Tower, and maybe in Falsetto Fantasy as well. She as long as you need a healer or shield esper, she will always shine. So she is worth the strong tier here. Then Jiangju Li, I would say, is going to be back. Even though he goes into demon mode in PvE, let's say in Infinity Tower, your Jiangju Li goes into demon mode, is not able to kill anyone as well. So it's just kind of useless. Then for Lucas here, I would say is niche because most of the cases now we're not going to use Lucas because we have a lot more AP controller in the game now. Like Lucas is the main point of Lucas is AP control and AP absorb, but we have a lot more esper that's able to replace his current role now. But he is still usable and still performing pretty well in Calamity Tower when you want to pair him with Embla or you want to pair him with as an AP control role. He's still doing pretty fine because Calamity Tower is element restriction, so it's a niche role, I would say. Then for height, I would say it's a bad because even though you can tank until the end, there's no use. The boss can most probably kill you in like story stages or Infinity Tower. Any kind of content, you won't be using height anymore. Then for Farah, I would say is niche because you won't be using Farah in other content. Maybe you use her in Infinity Tower, maybe, but most of the cases I see that I'll use Farah more often, which is on Calamity Tower. The Wind Calamity Tower, she is performing very well, but other than that, I don't really use Farah in any of the PvE content. Then for Raven, I would say she's actually the meta tier for PvE. Like you want to do speed clearing, she's the choice. You want to do trials, she's the choice. You want to do Infinity Tower speed clear, she's the choice. You want Dispel or buff steal or AoE nuke, she's also your choice, right? She is one of the meta PvE esper. Although it's not good in Falsetto Fantasy, but she kinda covers everything else than Falsetto Fantasy. Okay, so for Gabriel here, I would say she is. I would still say she is strong because she's able to provide immunity, defend up buff, defend break, attack down. A lot of stuff is in her kit, and especially she's actually able to cover most of the PvE content for you. Like Fafnir, she's also can be useful there. In Infinity Tower, you want AoE immunity, and if you want AoE defend break, she's the one and the only choice you're gonna have for in our esper pool currently. Right, so I would still say she's strong. Then for Taver, I would say he is definitely worth the meta. You can use Taver in almost all the shadow bosses. You can use Taver in Andras. You can use Taver in Infinity Tower. You can use Taver in Falsetto Fantasy in early stages as well. So Taver definitely worth the meta value in the PvE content. Then for Senia here, I would say Senia is considered strong. Strong is because she can do AP clear, AP push, and buff at the same time. Why am I rating her higher than Una's is because Una's got AP push and buff. That's the maximum Una's can do for R2 below. But Senia here is able to do AP clear, which means AP down, and AP push and buff, which is 3 things, which is more than Una's. And in PvE content, if you're not fighting bosses, Senia can actually stun them as well, which is 4 things she's bringing up to the table. So I would say Senia have a higher tier than Una's. But Senia is not strong as them in one same tier. Maybe it can be lower, but I will still say it's higher than Una's. Then for Gaius here, Gaius I would still say he's a strong esper. It's not like until meta. He kind of fell off a bit due to the current esper we have in the game. Like AoE damage, but he's kind of time consuming because you take extra turn from it. But the AoE damage he's able to provide in most of the content, PvE content, he's able to help you cover up as well. Then for Clara, I would say is maybe decent, I would say. Like Clara is like S3 is able to heal, able to cleanse, able to put immunity. But if I have to compare Clara role as a healer compared to Lien, and she's not that good. If I want to compare immunity with Gabriel, she's not that good. Right, and I feel like I use Clara less and lesser currently in my game. So I will put Clara in a decent stage. I mostly use Clara now is same as Una's, is only at the shadow bosses. Other than the shadow bosses, I don't really use Clara anymore even in Infinity Tower. If Infinity Tower I really need survival, I'm just gonna put Lian. I'm not gonna even put Clara. So for Nusi, I would say I really want to put her in meta because she's one of the cheat code for Infinity Tower. But other than Infinity Tower, you won't be seeing her in the PvE content. You won't be using her in Shadow Bosses, you won't be using her in Ritual Miracle, you won't be using her in maybe Falsetto Fantasy, right? If that's said, maybe not until meta, but I would say it will be strong. I really want to put her in meta because the value she's able to bring from the Infinity Tower is actually very high. But other than these two places, there won't be a lot more usage, right, for the PvE content, so I will put her at strong. Then for Ollie, I would say it's gonna be niche. It's like Ollie is very strong, but I only use Ollie in Chronos and Calamity Tower. Other than that, you won't be using in Falsetto Fantasy. Infinity Tower, I don't really use Ollie either. And then, yeah, for most of the PvE content, I won't be really using them, but she is one of the strongest character in Chronos. Okay, then the next one is Louis. Louis, I'll just instantly put at bat. He doesn't bring anything else in the PvE. Then Feng Shun, I'll definitely put him in meta, especially when you have R2, you can instantly get all the buff, all the AP push, and a lot of content you're gonna need Feng Shun. He is definitely worth the meta in the PvE. Then for Sally R2 here, I would say she is strong. She's kind of like Lian. Giving out healings, giving out clans, all those stuff, and I would even rate Sally's R2 even higher than Clara's because Sally can self-cleanse, Sally can redistribute the HP, providing attack up at the same time as well. Like, she's even better, so I would say she's at a strong tier. Then for Tricky, I would say it's bad in okay, wait. I would not say he's bad, I would say he is niche because in Infinity Tower, when enemy have immunity, one of your most reliable immunity dispeller is actually Tricky. And Tricky plus with other combo in Infinity Tower, when the enemy have like self dispel when they take their turn buff, Tricky is your best choice, your best pick. So I would say he's a niche esper to actually pick in PvE, but when he comes to play by his role, he's actually the strongest. Then for Cecilia, it's just gonna be bad. Then for Liling, I would say it's niche because Liling in Calamity Tower is very strong, but only in Calamity Tower. Then for Nama, I would say it's niche because it's only good in Calamity Tower as well. Then for Jin Yu Yao, I would say it's niche because Jin Yu Yao you only use her in Falsetto Fantasies, Dispel team, or maybe in Infinity Tower on a certain buff when you start the battle with silence, then you're gonna need Jin Yu Yao as your cleanse. So she's gonna be niche, she's not gonna excel in a lot of content, but it's pretty good. Then for Mavis, I would say it's strong. Not until meta tier, but I would say it's strong is because she won't be using in Falsetto Fantasy, but she will be using in Infinity Tower for some of the cheat code player, and she's able to excel in a lot of content as well because of her cheat death of the Graveless mode is actually able to help a lot of things, and the buff the Holiday Rest is providing is also very unique. Then for Iliad, it's instantly gonna be bad in PvE because Iliad is a PvP esper. Liam, I would instantly say is a meta esper because Liam is able to do a lot of things, like in Ritual Miracle he's able to do. Falsetto Fantasy, he is one of the main character in all team. Then in Infinity Tower, he kind of able to play in a place as well as a buffer, so it's definitely worth the meta. Valeria, I would say is either decent or strong here, but maybe I'll put it at decent. It's like you can use her in Falsetto Fantasy, but there are replacement for her as a DPS role. You can use her in Chronos, but there's replacement. You can use her as Infinity Tower as a DPS, but there's replacement. Like, there's a lot of replacement for her, but of course when it comes into certain situation, maybe like you pair her with Liam in Falsetto Fantasy, maybe that would be a meta team. But if we are considering in low reso, I would say it's just decent. It's not really that high usage. Okay, then this comes to my favorite character, which is Camille. Camille here, sadly, she's just being bad for PvE content. She can't really do anything else. Then for Mateo, I would say it's going to be strong in PvE. The leader buff, the orders damage from Mateo is just going to be massive strong. Phantom Sisters is strong as well from the speed buff. She's able to provide defense up buff, AP down, healing, auto start is going to be strong, especially in Falsetto Fantasy. Then Ife is just going to be bad, or maybe you can even put her into a Ife tier as well. Maybe I just put her at the last slot here. Then Ophelia is just going to be bad. It's like, okay, maybe Ophelia in niche because of the Wind Calamity Tower. But other than that, okay, I forgot about that. Calamity Tower, then I'll put Camille up 1 tier. Then Zora I would say is niche because it's mainly used in Calamity Tower. Other than that, or maybe you can even use her in Shadow Fire, but other than that, you won't really use her in any place. Then for Ethan, definitely meta wise, because a lot of speed team, like speed clear team, a lot of situation you actually are relying on R2 Ethan's passive buff that provides the extra crit rate and crit damage, especially in trials and Falsetto Fantasy not really, but maybe Infinity Tower, the extra 20 speed actually helps you out. Then Changji is instantly bad. He's a PvP esper. Intisa here I would say is pretty decent. Like when you want max HP attack as a DPS, she can exile, but she's mainly only used in Ritual Miracle or maybe Calamity Tower. But other than that, you won't be using her anymore. Like if you are talking about DPS role, there's a lot of replacement that is better than Intisa. Then Everett is just being bad, not even in Calamity Tower. Then Ashley here, maybe niche for Calamity Tower, but other than that, you won't be really using her. Then for Elaine, I would say is decent. Okay, Elaine here is a pretty awkward part. Is like she as a DPS, a lot Esper can replace her, but if we talk about Probator, she is the meta Esper, right? Cause the sleep Esper, but it really depends on the situation of the usage. Then for Abigail, I would say she's decent now. She's no longer like a very strong support. Like the AP push, you want AP push? I have other Esper AP push. You want buffer? You want AP push, right? Feng Shun have AP push. You want buffer? Feng Shun got buff. You want shield? Lian got shield. It's like she have a lot of replacement right already. So I would say it's just decent now. Then Leora, I would say is very strong. Not until like meta, but she can be used in all the speed clear content. You're gonna need Leora. Wave clear content, you're gonna need Leora. Infinity Tower, you can even use Leora. She's just not able to use in Falsetto Fantasy, that's all. Then for Ahmed here, I would say decent. Is like she used to be very good as a PvE Esper, but in terms of healing now, if we really want to judge the value now, like Lian, Sally, all these healers have a higher value and higher usage than Ahmed. Ahmed is no longer like that good Esper anymore. Then Tangshan here in PvE, I would just say bad, sad to say. Then for Archibald here, I would say niche, is because if we have to talk about Archibald's debuff, he actually very good in Calamity Tower, and Infinity Tower maybe will come in handy as well, because you are actually disabling them to cast their skill, because they are forced to cast their S1. Then for Champion, is definitely gonna be meta in PvE, the best buffer in the game. You cannot, and the best assist in the game, right? You just cannot ignore her. Then for Hilda, I would say it's meta as well, because in PvE content, you can just use Hilda to like just poison them until they die, control them with sleep until they die without touching anything else, and she is the best poison Esper in the game, and the sleep Esper, and she can be used in Falsetto Fantasy, Infinity Tower, Calamity Tower, almost all the content you can use Hilda as your support and your DPS as in poison DPS. Then for Yun Chuan in PvE, I would say she is a meta as well, because of all the dog assist, of all the buff, she's a debuff and the buff he's able to provide, he's still definitely worth the meta, even though he is kind of scaling off now, I feel, but the uniqueness of he's able to bring, he's still worth his meta. Then Nora here, sadly to say, she's just bad. Maybe can go into Calamity, but if I want to put her to Calamity, I'll put Tangshan into the niche section first. Then for Javid here, I'll put him in niche because he is very strong in story stages and Calamity Tower. maybe in Infinity Tower as well, because I do see people use Javid in Infinity Tower because of his disease, the AoE damage, the stun. All these things is very good in handy, especially when you fight Genie in Infinity Tower. You want disease, right? And everyone usually bring Embla, but they actually forgot that Javid have disease in his kit and AoE damage and deal decent damage as well, and able to stun. Right, so Javid is actually kind of underestimated in terms of PvE content, but he won't be scaling a lot of content, just that he will be niche esper in a certain situation. Then Yamato here, I would just say is bad, not really strong in most of the content here. Then for Embla, R2 definitely the meta. When you have R2 or not R2, she's just gonna exile in Falsetto Fantasy anyway, and Infinity Tower you're gonna need her anyway for AoE damage spread and disease esper as well, so definitely worth the meta. Yuhime, just sorry to say, is bad, or maybe you can go for Calamity Tower, but I don't really use Yuhime in Calamity Tower as well. It really depends, but if you want a speed lead, then maybe she's worth the try. Then for Brewster here, I would say is still strong because a lot of situation when you need assist attack, pursuit attack with defense break and decent DPS, Brewster is still one of your best pick in your team. Then Donner here, I would actually put him in bad, but because alright, I would say it's bad. But if you are able to make him to R6, it's actually a niche esper to kind of cheat code the Sonic team, Sonic Rift team, and cheat code like Chronos, all these esper that they instantly take their turn. Donner will instantly take up his hammer and then actually cheat off the turn. Like it's like a niche esper to actually use for, but if not mistaken, that requires R6. Then Fumitsuki here in PvE content, I would say is bad. Can't really bring out a lot of value in the PvE content from what I feel. Then for Suje R2, I would instantly say she is totally worth. Like even R0 is totally worth already. She can be used in Falsetto Fantasy, Infinity Tower, Andras, most of the content. As long as you need a passive damage, you need a good damage, Suje is your pick. Then Biotina, I would say is a niche because Biotina is still mainly used in Falsetto Fantasy, but only that. Only in Falsetto Fantasy, but when you are looking for a passively dispel esper, that a dispeller that can do consistent dispel, Biotina is still your main pick. Then for Yuran here, I would say it's niche as well. It's like he's the best sleep esper for Probator, but other than Probator, she's useless. But if you get him and you put him in your Probator team in Falsetto Fantasy, he's your main sleep esper. So she's kind of like an awkward spot here, so I would say she is a niche esper. Then Iki, sadly to say, you are very strong in PvP, but in PvE it's just straight up bad. Then for TA, I would say is strong or maybe even meta tier, but okay, maybe I would say, let's see, TA wise, if I have to compare everyone here with like AP control, I think the meta here don't have AP control yet, so I think I'll put TA up to meta tier in PvE because like she's able to provide a speed leader for most of your universal in Infinity Tower and Falsetto Fantasy as well. She's able to AP down and AP push to her team, able to put speed down, able to put stun in AP swap. I think this actually worth the meta tier for TA, alright? Then for Haley, definitely meta. The reason why I'll put Haley up to meta is because not because Haley is strong in most of the like Infinity Tower or that, but Haley is actually one of your best esper in Calamity Tower, one of your best esper in Falsetto Fantasy, one of your best esper in our current Ritual Miracle APAP 17 to 20. She's one of the main esper for your cheat code as well. So for the fact that she's able to cover up the three main content in the PvE consideration, I would say she's actually the meta and no one else actually to do the same thing as Haley. She's just too unique and no one is doing the same thing as her to actually replace her. Right, so I think this actually worth the meta tier for her. Then for Fushi wise, I would say is strong. For if R2 wise maybe decent in terms of PvE because You are Embla's husband, you're trying to assist Embla, but if in terms of assist, Feng Shun is better, Chu Yao is better, Lian is better, and not you. But Fuxi will be better when she is higher reso, but in this tier list here, we are talking like maximum up to R2. I would not say she is gonna be good in most of the PvE content, so maybe I will just consider him as decent, because the main thing she's gonna do is assist, but there are better replacement on top the tier that is working better than Fuxi. Then for Chu Yao here, definitely worth the meta. The debuff he's able to provide to the team, to the boss, and the assist kit to make the team even stronger. The Spirit Aegis to protect the team is gonna be worth the meta. Even R0, I would say just get him, because the speed lead, he's able to exile in Infinity Tower. Falsetto Fantasy, he's already shining his power now. And Ritual Miracle Chrono 17 to 20 above, you're gonna definitely need him. So I would say he's worth the meta. Wu Yu, just instantly bad. Like in PvE, you can't really do anything else, right? Then Ife is just gonna stay in the Esper pool, just being the Ife tier. Right, so if I go through the tier list one more time here, I don't think I have other changes for my tier list here, right? Agree or not, this is my tier list, is based on my experience in the game, based on what I have seen in the content, like other people using in the team, other people's usage, my own usage, and my own thoughts. So if you have which part that you don't agree, you can feel free to comment down and let me know how do you think about this tier list. Is it accurate for you, or do you feel like something is off to the tier list? You can let me know. I will try to understand your own thoughts. Maybe I mislook something else. Maybe in the future the tier list I have to like tune it out again, right? But this is my tier list, and hope this tier list actually help you guys in your final decision in the PvE content. But up next, I'm gonna make the PvP content and the other tier list as well, so feel free to check it out, and see you guys in the next video. Bye bye. Special thanks for the direct support on the YouTube membership. So for the benefactor of Artiar, which is JNMP, Rosas15, Morkult Rajili, thank you so much for the support, and special thanks to Marlene Williams for the highest tips giver in my live stream content. Thank you so much for the support, and special thanks for the supporter and patron of Artiar, which is Louis Schneider, Agni, Jemai, Code Wardeners, Wang Tamer, Ziggy, Kamaruki, Sunwaltz, Rimu, Choni, Kylie Worshipper, Von Hexa, Luxley, Roshan Bessie, Antonio Winterspoon, and Noah Archive. Thank you so much for the support, and special thanks to everyone who have been supporting me for 1 month streak and 3 month streak. So hope you guys enjoy the video, and see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.